Hi guys, it's Rich from Teach Me Music Academy, and today I'm going to be talking to you about tuning the guitar. So it might sound obvious, but tuning the guitar is your first step towards being able to play the guitar properly. You can have all the right notes in all the right order at all the right time, but if your guitar isn't in tune, it's going to sound awful and there's nothing you can do about that. Picture this, you've gone to see your favourite band play live, and as the guitarist walks on stage and plays that first chord, instead of hearing the harmonious sound that you're used to, you're greeted with an ugly, dissonant, horrible noise that doesn't get any better throughout the concert. By the end, you're going to have a cracking headache and you're going to want your money back. There's nothing that guitarist can do because his guitar's out of tune. So that's why it's important to make sure we tune our guitars before we play them. So before we go on to what we tune our guitars to, let's talk about what happens when we actually tune them. So your guitar has 6 strings. And these strings are basically metal pieces of wire tied to either end of your guitar, stretched really, really tightly, creating a lot of tension. And when they're plucked, they vibrate and create a musical note. And we tighten and loosen the strings in order to ease or create more tension and change the note that we're playing. If we wanted to tune the notes higher, or as we say using the correct musical terms, sharpen the notes, we would turn the machine heads to tighten the string, which would create a higher note. If we wanted to tune to a lower note, or flatten the notes, using the correct musical term, we would loosen the string to tune it down. So now we've talked about what happens when you tune a guitar, let's look at what we're actually tuning our guitar to and how we do it. So 6 strings, 6 different notes. Sounds fairly easy, and that's because it is. All the notes are different, and there are many different ways we can do it. Sometimes we can use tuners, such as this one on the headstock of my guitar. These clip-on tuners use the vibrations from when you're playing to figure out which note is playing. When we turn it on, we'll see that when we play a string, we get the name of the note, and depending on if the note is too high or too low, we'll get a small dial either side telling us to either tune up or tune down. This is just one of many ways we can tune the guitar. You can also use pedals to tune your guitar, such as this one. And when you press this button, it shows you a really similar display to the clip-on tuner, where the note will be in the middle and a dial pointing either way, helping you figure out whether you need to sharpen the note or flatten it in order to get the note that you're trying to get. So let's talk about the notes that we're going to tune to. There are 6 strings on a guitar, as I've already said, and each string is tuned to a different note. Now, we usually tune a guitar to something called standard tuning. This is the go-to tuning for every guitarist. 9 times out of 10, if you're playing a song, it's going to be in standard tuning. If you're jamming with other people, they're going to be in standard tuning unless they specify otherwise. If you pick a guitar up from the wall in a guitar shop, it's going to be in standard tuning. So what are the notes of standard tuning? Well, there's 1 note for every string, and that goes as follows: E, A, D, G, B, E. And that is what we call standard tuning. Now obviously, to someone who's not used to playing guitar, that might all be a bit of gobbledygook and you might not remember those notes very well. So we as guitarists tend to find little clever ways and tricks that we can remember these notes, such as reciting a poem where each letter of a word is delegated to a string and the note that we play. The one that I was taught many years ago was eat apples daily, grow big ears. It doesn't make sense and it doesn't have to, but as long as it helps you remember what you're tuning your guitar to, that's all that matters. 6 words, 1 for each note. Easy peasy. So now we've talked about the notes on the guitar, let's tune it using this clip-on tuner which measures the vibrations of the strings and see if we can get the right notes. So we'll start with our lowest string, our E string. So that's showing us 2 little arrows either side of that letter, which implies that the note is exactly where it needs to be. Let's try our A string. And once again, we've got the A with 2 little arrows either side, saying that we're spot on in the middle of where we need to be. So let's try our D string. So as you can see, we have the D, but we also have a small bar underneath it, which is showing us that we're a little bit lower than we need to be. So we need to tune a bit further up. So let's tune up. Let's sharpen this note together. And just there we can see the two arrows pointing at the D and no lines either side, which shows us that string is now in tune. So let's try our G string. So our G string's in tune, and we'll move to our B string. And finally, our high E string. So every string is now in tune, and we have a wonderfully in tune guitar, which means when we do play it, everything's going to sound exactly as it should. The wonderful thing about guitars is there is completely no limit to any tuning that you want to use. You can change individual strings or the entire strings to achieve completely different sounds. It's completely up to you. Use your imagination and use some really interesting tunings to create some really cool songs. But 9 times out of 10, remember, we're going to be looking at standard tuning, which we remember using a little poem like eat apples daily, grow big ears. Hopefully that's been some use for you guys, and we'll see you next time.